If your freshly painted walls start looking patchy, streaky, or just not quite right after a weekend of work, you're not alone. Most of those problems come from skipping steps during prep, and once you know what those steps are, painting a room well is genuinely not that difficult. Today, we're going to walk through the entire process, from bare walls to a clean professional finish, and I'll point out the mistakes that trip people up at every stage. Before we get into it, this is a project that takes most people a full weekend. One day for prep and priming, one day for painting. If you try to rush it into one day, the finish usually shows it. Skill level is beginner to intermediate. You don't need experience, but you do need patience. Total cost for materials on an average bedroom runs somewhere between $60 and $120, depending on paint quality and how much you need. Let's start with what you'll need. You'll want painter's tape, a good angled brush, 2.5 inches is the most versatile size, a 9-inch roller with a 3/8-inch nap for smooth to semi-smooth walls, a roller frame and extension pole, a paint tray, sandpaper and 120 and 220 grit, spackling compound for small holes, a putty knife, a damp cloth or tack cloth, painter's plastic sheeting, a stir stick, and primer. For the paint itself, use a quality interior latex. Eggshell finish works well for most rooms. It's easy to clean and looks good without being too shiny. Now let's talk about the most skipped step in the entire process, prep. Most people want to get to the painting, but everything that goes wrong with a paint job almost always traces back to prep that was rushed. Start by moving everything you can out of the room. What stays gets covered with plastic sheeting. Use painter's tape to secure the sheeting to the floor along baseboards and to cover any outlet covers or switch plates you're leaving in place. Some people tape around outlet covers. A faster option is just to unscrew them, let them hang free, and tape around the opening. Next, look at your walls closely. Fill every nail hole, dent, and crack with spackling compound. Apply it with a putty knife, press it in slightly overfilled, and let it dry completely. Drying time depends on the product, but most lightweight spackling is ready in 30 to 60 minutes for small repairs. Once dry, sand it smooth with your 120 grit paper, then follow up with 220 for a really flush finish. Run your hand over it. If you can feel a ridge, sand more. If that ridge shows up under paint, it's too late. After you've filled and sanded, wipe the entire wall surface with a lightly damp cloth. This removes dust, grease, and anything else that will prevent paint from bonding properly. Let the walls dry fully before moving on.
Here's one that surprises a lot of people. If your walls have any stains, watermarks, smoke, crayon, permanent marker, regular paint will not cover them. It will just bleed through, even after multiple coats. Spot prime those areas with a shellac-based or oil-based primer first. Let it dry, then prime the whole wall. That brings us to priming. A lot of people skip primer, especially if they're painting a color not too far from what's already there. But primer serves two purposes. It gives the paint something to bond to, and it evens out the surface so your top coat goes on uniformly. If you're making a dramatic color change, use a tinted primer. Ask your paint store to tint it close to your top coat color. This can cut your top coat coats down from 3 to 2. Apply primer with the same roller technique we'll cover in a moment, let it dry fully, then lightly sand with 220 grit and wipe clean before painting. Okay, now we're ready to paint. The order matters. Ceiling first if you're painting it, then walls, then trim and baseboards last. We're focusing on walls today. Start by cutting in. That means using your angled brush to paint a 2 to 3 inch band along all the edges, corners, where the wall meets the ceiling, and where it meets the trim. Load the brush, tap off the excess, and use long, smooth strokes. Don't rush this. Cutting in badly is one of the most visible mistakes in a finished room. A steady hand and a good quality brush make a big difference here. Cheap brushes leave bristle marks and don't hold enough paint. Once you've cut in a section, roll that section while the cut-in edge is still wet. This is important. If your cut-in dries before you roll, you'll often see a slight texture difference along the edges. Work in sections. Cut in one wall, roll it, move to the next. For rolling, load your roller fully in the tray. Roll off the excess on the ridged section of the tray and apply to the wall in a W or M pattern to start. This distributes paint evenly. Then go back over it with straight vertical strokes to smooth everything out. Keep a wet edge as you work, meaning you're always rolling back into paint that's still slightly wet. If you let sections dry and then roll back into them, you'll get lap marks. Give each coat enough time to dry before adding the next. For most interior latex paints, that's about 2 hours in a well-ventilated room, but read your specific paint's instructions. Most rooms need 2 coats of paint over primer. Some colors, especially deep reds, yellows, and oranges, may need 3. Don't try to load on extra paint to get coverage in one coat. Thick coats strip, run, and take forever to dry. The other mistake that costs people a lot of time is not keeping their tools in good shape between coats. If you're painting the second coat the same day, wrap your roller and brush tightly in plastic wrap or a plastic bag. They'll stay fresh for hours without drying out. Clean them properly with warm water and soap when you're done for the day. Once your final coat is dry, and give it the full dry time, not just an hour,
Carefully remove all the painter's cape. Pull it back at a 45-degree angle, slowly, away from the painted surface. If any paint has seeped under the tape and dried, score along the tape edge with a utility knife before pulling. This prevents the tape from tearing off chunks of dried paint with it. Replace your outlet covers, remove sheeting from the floor, and step back. That's a professional paint job. To recap what we covered, good prep makes or breaks the finish. Fill, sand, and clean your walls before anything else. Spot prime stains or they'll bleed through. Prime before you paint, especially for color changes. Cut in while you're rolling, section by section. Keep a wet edge to avoid lap marks. 2 coats over primer is the standard for most rooms, and pull your tape carefully at the end. If this helped you feel more confident about tackling your room, go ahead and subscribe. We put out practical home improvement guides every week. No fluff, just the steps that actually work. And check out the description for links to some of the tools and materials mentioned in this video. Good luck with your project.